That one.
I think I know which section this is.
Oh shit.
Ah, look at that. I actually have two versions of this record. This is an old copy, Music for Nations label. So this is the European version. This is a repress, which is actually not as good sounding by Warner Brothers. Before I even start talking about this record, if you're gonna buy Metallica vinyl, you need to be really smart about what you're buying, because the most recent represses, you need to know what you're getting, because you might buy a dud. These records were badly pressed for most of the early 2000s. If you are getting an early version like this one, like a Music for Nations label or an Elektra Records, if you go to earlier records, you have Megaforce Records, like those are good versions, but you're gonna pay a lot of money. I'm just saying because we're talking vinyl here, so I just want to make sure that people understand that if you're gonna buy a version of Master of Puppets, I would wait, because it's gonna be repressed really soon. Master of Puppets. This is when I started listening to Metallica and just metal in general, it came because of my cousin Kiki Enrique. He lives in El Paso, Texas. His room was full of Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer posters, Pantera. At some point after, I would hear songs in his house, but it was like, it's almost like a dream, when you don't own the records. But my dad always had a huge collection of records, CDs, and whatever, and he was OCD like I am, and he had this basically catalog. So immediately I was like, okay, let's see if my dad has a Metallica record, and sure enough, he had the Black Album. I listened to the Black Album, start to finish, then bought Ride the Lightning, then bought Injustice for All, then bought Kill 'Em All. For some reason, when I was growing up, it was really hard to get a CD version of Master of Puppets. And now that I'm older, I realize that that's exactly the era when the CDs were repressed and remastered. My version of Master of Puppets was actually I bought it in Mexico, so it's a Vertigo label, not an Elektra label. It was the only record at that point that I hadn't listened to by Metallica, so then once I listened to it, it was like, oh, of course, this is the best band of all time, and that's, when I'm like 11, 12, 10, The main thing I'll talk about, actually, is Cliff Burton, because this is the last album that Cliff Burton was in. Right now, those are the same guys still, Kirk Hammett, James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich, but Cliff Burton was the bass player in the first 3 records. Anybody who knows anything about metal praises the ground that Cliff Burton walked on. He is arguably the best bass player in rock. Cliff Burton did something in metal that, Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath did a lot of, finger picking, whatever, but Cliff Burton really used his bass as the lead instrument, like a real... Like Orion is chock full of his solos. If you have the record or the CD, you will see that it says 2nd guitar solo Hetfield, 4th solo bass Burton. Once they released this record, they toured Europe and they hit a patch of what they call black ice, and the bus rolled over, killed him. Another musician who you just basically lose, and it alters the way a band actually performs. The way Metallica sounds changed because of Burton. Of all these 4 dudes, Burton was the one with a classical music background. The intro to Battery, that acoustic guitar, that's all Cliff Burton's influence. Orion is all Cliff Burton's influence, So he's the one that's pushing Metallica to be more of this neoclassical thrash metal operatic thing. And that Metallica died the moment Cliff Burton died, because he was not there to push them in that direction. It's probably my favorite Metallica record. Metallica at this time was one of the most important bands. They had a message. They knew what they wanted. This is a classic.